Odyssey, and I possess the key to create a video game challenge. The keyboard from Odyssey 2. You can type your name on the screen. What wizardry? Change grids, or design whole new ones at will. Or play master strategy games like The Quest for the Rings, or 50 other games. Believe me, the Odyssey 2 keyboard is the key to greater challenge.
Available at Minnesota Fats.
There's lots more live on NBC. The Great American Small Dog Float with Bert Hart.
Down in the basement with the VHS. On a scale of 1 to 6, which one is the best? Ninjas, monsters, rock and roll. I got analog blood and a beta soul. Neon Lord with the glug jug handy. Tonight's the night for raviolis for Randy. Raviolis, raviolis for Randy. Raviolis, raviolis for Randy. Mac and me, Munchie and Mandy. Raviolis, raviolis for Randy. Raviolis for Randy tonight.
909-5464. Go get the phone. I said get it, not eat it.
Ripped from the pages of the Pastanomicon and filmed in glorious marinara vision, it's Ravioli for Randy. With me, as always, is my co-host, John Hambone McGuire.
Ahoy!
And tonight, our special guest is Chris LaMartina, the director of WNUF Halloween Special.
Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for jumping on.
You're
So,
welcome.
yeah, so give us a little rundown real quick for the people who don't know what the amazingness is.
Yeah, so WF Halloween Special is basically, I guess for lack of a better term, a found footage movie. Maybe the new sort of in vogue term might be analog horror. But imagine if you taped on local television on Halloween night 1987, like their programming on Halloween. So basically, a local news reporter does a live broadcast from the town's haunted house. Things obviously get messed up because if not there wouldn't be a movie, but because it is like you taped it off TV, every 5-7 minutes it cuts to commercials. So we made a quarter of the movie, if not maybe more so, is like all these fake commercials. And so it's really sort of like this like weird, I guess for lack of a better term, outsider art horror film. I always joke it's sort of like if Christopher Guest made a found footage horror film. So yeah, it's like if you grow up like in the 80s or 90s watching TV, like I feel like you'll find a lot to love there, especially if you grew up like sort of reliving taped VHS that you may have taped off local TV. So that was like sort of the impetus for creating something like that, like a time capsule.
Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
Thank you.
So I did see online that it is listed sometimes as WNUF Halloween, but I always typed it as Halloween Special. Now I'm kind of looking at So is it officially WNUF Halloween Special?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Halloween Special.
That's what I thought, but then like when I was online, I was like, oh, am I been saying it wrong this whole time?
No.
Yeah, now I'm looking at So if you don't have them, 1 and 2, go get them.
Hell yeah.
We'll put the link in the bio. Number 2 is just as awesome as number 1. Let me just say.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, but the sequel Out There Halloween Mega Tape is sort of like, it was crazy when we made the original WNF. Script to screen was 9 months. Like it was the most quickest turn for a movie I've ever made.
That's amazing.
I mean, usually like some movies I've done have taken 40 years, 6 years. But that one was just like at the right time. I was young. I was living in a basement. I was eating cans of beans for lunch. But I was gonna say the sequel came out, but obviously the pandemic hit and it was sort of crazy. But I was good because that was a longer trajectory. But that being said, when we finished making WNUF, I sort of had this moment where I was like, man, like I could tell a million stories in this universe. I could think about how culture progresses. Like, does the nostalgia for the 80s still exist going into the 90s? And it took me a minute to sort of figure out what I wanted to talk about with like media and culture within the 90s. But then like I figured it out fairly quickly, maybe like 2 or 3 years after we made the original WNUF. And then it was sort of like, okay, how can I actually make this movie? So I had to finish up another film we were working on. But yeah, it was I guess Out There came out 2022, so 2 years ago now.
Yeah. That's very cool. So what are you working on now? Anything cool?
Yeah, so working on a couple things. So my wife Melissa just finished a movie, or not just finished, I should say. We shot it last year, but it's going to be coming out this summer. I'm not allowed to say the title yet because it hasn't been announced, but I wrote it and co-produced it with her. But she did like the lion's share of producing and directed the movie. But that was funded by a little studio out in Los Angeles, and that'll probably be announced hopefully in a couple months. And then we're doing a WF spinoff right now, so it's I guess to describe it this way is how I've been doing it. If the WF movies will eventually be a trilogy, what I'm working on, well, what I'm working on now though is what I will call our Ewok adventurer. So like, so basically, Reed Richmond, George Stover's character from Out There Halloween Mega Tape. I am truly making a Halloween special. Like basically imagine like if Sci-Fi Channel did like a history of Halloween in the mid 90s. So that's what I'm working on right now. That is it's like 80% shot. I haven't edited any of it though, so it's probably like 2 years away from being finished completely. Or maybe not this Halloween, but next Halloween. But then outside of that, I've actually just been writing in like starting writing up a new feature that I'm planning to shoot. I have this weird crazy idea to shoot a movie in 4 days before I turn 40, which will be next April. So my plan is to my plan is to shoot a 4-day feature probably sometime between January and March of 2025. So that's what we're working on right now.
Hey, if you ever need any extras for part 3, you got me and Hambone.
Dude, 100%. You guys are, yeah, you guys are in Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Hambone's in Jersey. I'm in New York, so I mean, we're just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Yeah, dude, come down whenever. I mean, honestly, like, it's funny. The third WF movie, when I eventually do it, I mean, it's probably like 6 years away from me even thinking about that, but I do know what I'm gonna do. It'll be taking place in like the early 2000s, so like 2004.
Hell yeah. So like, not to get off of tangent, but this is the tangent podcast essentially. So like, I've been kind of going back and looking at like early 2000s, like toy art and stuff. Cause I got a buddy who's been at Hasbro since Phantom Menace, and like, man, there's like there's no love for early 2000s.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, not yet.
And like, and that, yeah, and I think what's interesting what you're saying is like, here is what I will say. When we were making WNUF, and then Out There, and this next one, it's something I think about the evolution of culture and like what we have lost. And I've talked about this a decent bit, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but like, we have lost a sense of collective consciousness. Whereas like when we were kids, right, 80s or 90s, like just growing up, like there was a smaller media diet. Everyone had a similar media diet because there were only so many channels. Right now, everyone's Instagram feed is so different and unique and tailored to what they click on, and like just to sort of like, you know, I guess it essentially sort of like feeds what they're giving it, right? So like if you're, you know, whether you're politics or whatever you're into, like, you know, you get a very custom feed. So to talk about the early 2000s, I actually feel like that's where it starts like truly breaking, like where they're really, that polarization of like what people are getting fed is starting to truly break into like I would say probably like 2007, 2008 is when a MySpace or a Facebook really starts getting amped up. So I feel like that's the last grasp we have of a culture sort of being more of a collective consciousness. And then I get to talk about some fun stuff. Like I do believe the WNUF movies are inherently political. And I would love to be able to talk about like post 9/11 America and like Iraq war and things like that in a way that I don't think has been talked.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that'll be sick.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that. That's like a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah. But it is funny too. Like you think about like, I mean, what I think is really interesting how different eras react to, like, obviously WF, the satanic panic is right there. It's like Ronald Reagan's America, like, you know, like the satanic panic like was really in the zeitgeist. In the 90s, I feel like you had this evolution of like, oh, aliens were cool, you know, X-Files, you know, Weekly World News would have like fucking Bill Clinton shaking the hand of aliens, and it was like this funny thing, but it was almost like a weird pendulum swing to, and I think a lot of decades are pendulum swings where like the 80s were very conservative. The 90s were, I wouldn't say very liberal, but more liberal after like, you know, 12 years of Reagan Bush. And then the 2000s with George W. Bush, you have this sort of weird, like demonic possession shows come back, and like all these weird things where like people are somehow being more culturally conservative again, even after the sort of like more quote unquote progressive Clinton years, which is really, I just think it's a cool thing to explore. But yeah, it's
very cool to explore. Absolutely. That's just like what I do. Like everyone talks about like guys thinking about like
what's your Roman Empire?
Yeah, my Roman Empire this is my Roman Empire. And Judge Dredd too, because like it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the advent of smartphones really was the nail in the coffin because even when people had cell phones in the early days, and I'm not talking about like the Zach Morris brick. I'm talking about one that
like
would
a
fit in your pocket.
phone. Yeah.
It was still cool. It was still chill.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. You're gonna film everything, and you're gonna immediately put it up, taking pictures of the food that you're eating, and there was still a delayed gratification to anything that you wanted to do within reason.
Yeah.
And then once
we'll get to that.
Yeah, once we got away from that, though, it all did change. It changed in a big way where, everything is so ephemeral now. It's just you look at something, and by the time you're ready to tell someone about it, you were already on to like the next three things.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Where like, things used to imprint on us when we were younger in the 80s and the 90s. Like you had to listen to a record and really like live in those 10 tracks before you could just dial up like 1,000 other songs and just be like, all right, I'm bored.
And it is interesting too, though, the idea of things being like cyclical in a way. Like, for example, I think what's interesting now about like our own band, right? Like we've been talking about, we'll just do like singles or like 7-inches, which is crazy because it's like there was that era of like 70s through 2000s, I'd say, where like albums were a thing and people needed them. But now Spotify or all that, just the vibe of having singles is it's like going back to the 1950s and how rock and roll were A-side, B-sides. Like that's so crazy to me that culture works like that sometimes because we're almost reinventing like there's a certain, and hence why I love doing commercials in the WF movies. Like, capitalism sort of, figures out a way to monetize the things that make sense for the ecosystem.
Right.
And a lot of those things are cyclical.
So, all right, WNUF, you have the pumpkin carving commercial.
Yeah.
Was it based on the VHS How to Carve a Pumpkin that the guy did?
Are you talking about the, it's so funny. I was going to say, is because there's one tape that I've had, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, guys. I don't think I talked about this when I ran into you at the brewery. But I had this tape of, it's like a Southern dude or like someone made in Indiana. He's like the pumpkin master or whatever.
Yeah, he's like baldish.
Yeah. So like it's not based off that. It's based off the old a handful of commercials of like that were like, the like a pumpkin carving.
Yeah. Like the safety carver and stuff. Yeah. No,
but
it totally has that feel. Yeah.
But what's funny is that guy, the video you mentioned, for a long time, I didn't see that till after we'd shot WF, but that specific one, because it was based on the commercials. But like I guess the last probably more than 15 years now, I've made annual Halloween mixtapes. So like, and for the first almost 10 years, I refused to use the internet. So I would go on eBay and Amazon and places and just search Halloween and like special interest tapes or like whatever. But the guy that you're talking about, like the world renowned, not world renowned, the probably Midwest renowned. Kitchen. Yeah, it's just him in his kitchen. And like I remember using some clips where he was like, he talks about this is like a bonsai, and he says all these weird, crazy things that your grandpa would say while he's carving pumpkins. But I 100% know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's like one of those like Holy Grail like specialty tapes that people always look for.
Yeah,
it's weird. Sure. It's like found like a resurgence of popularity with tape heads. Like, go figure, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So then, what is your favorite commercial?
My favorite commercial, meaning of in the movies we've
made?
In
WNF.
In WNF, my favorite commercial is probably, I'm gonna say something insane. My favorite commercial is not in the movie. It's something that was on the Blu-ray release in the cut commercials or in the additional commercial, whatever the thing's called. It's for a fake TV show called Nocturnal Visions, basically like a horror show, like almost something that might be like Tales from the Dark Side or like Dark Room. But I use clips from my buddy Jeff Herberger, made a bunch of movies in the late 80s, early 90s here in Baltimore, and he like gave me his blessing to use a couple clips from them. But it's like it reminds me, the reason why like I was so excited about that was like I love anthology movies and anthology shows, and like the idea of creating like a fake anthology show was probably my favorite thing to do. But I was gonna say that if I want to speak more broadly, the original WF, I'd say, man, I don't know. I do think that's my favorite one. I just like the Halloween ones. Yeah. And then out there, I would say my favorite commercial is probably either Super Duper Water Shooter, like this the squirt gun ad, or the Essential Vibes, like the rip off of Pure Moods is probably my my favorite one.
I mean, you're familiar with the Oozinator though, right?
I am. I don't know how the
So-
fuck anyone did not stop.
Okay,
that from
so
being
I know
made.
the whole story about it. Our
Yeah.
buddy Ben, who works at
What?
Hasbro, works on the
What?
Oozinator. He actually designed the box. I have a Oozinator in box with him signed on it. Like he worked on the box, right? He was in the meetings. I hopefully he doesn't get mad I tell this story, but it'll be fine. I'm pretty sure because he said it in public. Anyway, I won't go too crazy into it, but he like went to. I mean, you know what it does, right? So it started out as normal green alien ooze, and they're like, well, you can't have that because it's going to stain clothes, and this ingredient's going to stain kids. So it came more like less color.
There's a pun you just did, by the way.
Yeah.
yeah.
So then,
So the climax to this story.
So it got to that consistency, and he went to the HR and was like, "You know this, right?" She's like, "Ben, you're like the 5th person who said something about it." Like they were more afraid of getting
Of the dye.
Yeah, the dye than they were about like everything else. I'll just leave it at that because I don't want to.
That's
get Ben in trouble.
crazy, dude. Wow.
So
Yeah,
there was
like
The more you know.
You good.
There's a commercial I saw growing up, and I've said it to so many people and talked about it to so many people, and they're like, no, that commercial never existed. I don't know what the setup was, but it finishes with was wild like squirrel, and I can't find it anywhere.
Huh.
But I remember it, and I'm like, this is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. It was right around the time of the peanut butter Aaron Burr.
Oh
you know?
Yeah, Aaron.
Right around that time.
That was
you
a
know?
great one.
Oh,
Yeah.
great commercial. Like Aaron Burr, like enthusiast. The one thing you can't because he's chewing peanut butter, right? Or no, he didn't have milk. It was a
he
got
didn't
milk.
have milk. Yeah, it was a got milk commercial. Yeah.
So
God, remember those? Jesus.
Since you asked, my favorite WNES is the 1-900 number.
Oh hell yeah!
I'm like 1-900 number obsessed. You'll see it on my list. It's there. Everyone knows I'm obsessed with them. So
it's so funny. I'm wondering if we have a similar thing on our list.
I'm interested because I have a prop for it too. Because I bring props for a lot of them if I own them.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Okay,
so that one I do have a prop for. So so finally we're gonna get to the episode. I had this was all vanity. I had to ask Chris my questions because you know I love them.
All good, man.
So my vanity questions are over. I brought the gentleman here to talk about strange/weird media, right? Like I left it out there, see what they come up with. To me, a lot of it at first originally was like I don't want to get into like I guess my description because it'll blow everything away. So let's do some honorable mentions if you have them. Anybody have any?
I don't know if I have any honorable mentions. I didn't realize we could do that. I would have come up with more.
I
definitely have.
I can't read,
no,
Brian.
You're good. You're good. All right, so let's kick it off, John. What do you got?
So you want me to just go through my list?
No. Just give me one honorable mention.
Or just honorable mention. So the honorable mention for me is a thing called Hit Clips.
From
1999, Tiger Electronics. You know, we're talking about like, you know, the future, right? And so apparently for some people, like a Walkman or like a, you know, portable CD player wasn't enough. They had to come up with a new system called Hit Clips. Tiger Electronics made it. It was a micro audio system that you could like attach to your belt or you could attach to like your backpack, and it had like a little clip on it, i.e. Hit Clips. But it was also, the name had to do with the actual music because you were only able to play a 60-second clip of a song. So maybe you get like the first verse and maybe you get like the first chorus and that's it. It just fades out. And they were like expensive as shit back in the day, especially for 1999. They also came out with one Hit Discs where you would have a little CD looking like the size of like a 50-cent piece that would play 2 full minutes of music, but like you would never be able to get like, unless it was like a Ramones song, you would never get, which they would never put out a Ramones hit clip, of course. It was all like NSYNC and Avril Lavigne and like Simple Plan and shit. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, that was definitely like a meeting where like 1999 people were probably still doing cocaine in the boardrooms thinking this is a good idea. We're going to print money with this. And then like a few years later, it's like, oh, here's an iPod.
Well, that's so funny.
Yeah, but I mean, it was obviously a scam to sell more albums
Oh yeah.
because they get
Yeah.
them. They get them.
I did.
Up.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
No. I was gonna say, I while you were talking about this, I was like, oh my god, could I even like use a video game as one of my media clips? Because I think I might have my honorable mention.
Yeah, you
Now that
can
guys-
do.
yeah,
You
cool.
can do
All
whatever
right.
you want.
Yeah, man.
All right. So my honorable mention is you guys. I'm assuming you guys are video game folks. I'm not so much. Like the last system I owned was probably like a Sega Genesis, but like my favorite game to this day that I feel like I don't think anyone ever talks about. Maybe I'm wrong. Have you guys ever played Mick Kids by chance?
Mick Kids, yeah.
McDonald's made
yeah.
yeah, and like that would be my honorable mention. Like I don't know if this is more not as weird as people think, but I think it's fucking bizarre that a fast food company made a video game. Actually, fuck, that makes me think of an even crazier one. When I got diagnosed with diabetes, I went to the hospital and they made me play a game to learn how to manage my diabetes that was made by Sega. And I forget what it was called. It was like Glucose Man or something, but it was like a side scroller where like the guy would come through and like fight like sugary stuff or like some weird shit. Like I don't remember it very well, but it was something like that. So those two video games are my honorable mentions.
So Mick Kids, I played it and it wasn't good, but I also had I want to say
it's my favorite game.
But I had like the Nintendo Power that like would show you like all the levels and everything, and I was kind of like not scared, but like kind of afraid of the game. How it was very like, I don't know. It's hard to explain it because it wasn't scary by any means, but I was still like a little like weary by it. It's kind of.
I think it's like it's. I think it's one of those things where I thought McDonald's was obviously very smart in the sense that you really are never at risk of dying. You can always find more lives, like so many more lives that it's like you'll be playing the game forever, but it's difficult. Like you're finding cards. So basically it's like you got to find all these like little like pathways. So if you have the level breakdown, it's probably easier, but like it's I've still never beaten it, which just means I'm an idiot. Not that it's difficult.
No. And it has all the like McDonald's Land characters that they eventually had to phase out because they got sued.
Well, here's what's crazy about that. So a couple of years ago, I think during COVID, I got one of those like emulator boxes that basically has like 1,000 games or whatever. So I'm not going to go into detail because I don't know if I want a recording of me saying this, but the Mick Kids version, someone went through and digitally altered some stuff and like I guess recoded it, and like I guess it's just like it's like, okay, well this is the version I have to play now on this emulator, but it was yeah, it's different game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a reskin to begin with of another game.
I don't know.
Go down the rabbit hole on
it looks fairly yeah, you tell me. I don't know.
Yeah, they're talking about the Burger King ones like Sneak King.
There's a Burger King one? Holy shit.
So in the Xbox era, Xbox 360 era, Burger King was selling $5 games, and one of them is Sneak King. You gotta like solid snake your way around the neighborhood and hand people burgers without them knowing. It's freaky looking.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So my honorable mention is an Adult Swim movie called This House Has People in It.
Oh, shit.
Have you heard of this?
I haven't, no.
So it's like, I don't know how long it is, maybe 30 minutes. And it's essentially like it's like video cameras in like somebody's in this family's house during a birthday party. And like there's like 3-hour documentaries on this, like 30 minutes. There's like so much like little stuff that is happening like all the time. There's like this like Sonic the Hedgehog demon you could see in like half of a frame, like going behind the tree if you look out this window, right? So like essentially like there's like the older sister's like melting through the kitchen floor and it's like crazy stuff that's going on all the time, but it doesn't stop at the movie. So if you go to the security system company's website, you can unlock a ton of other stuff and like use the family's password and like log in and like look at other videos and stuff. It's like a whole like augmented reality, I guess, like to really add to the movie. But like even if you don't go down the rabbit hole and check out all the other crazy stuff that goes on with it, just definitely watch This House Has People in It. I highly recommend it.
Hell yeah. I'll write that down.
It's phenomenal. It's one of the it's up there for me for sure.
Oh yeah, it's sick.
I got another honorable mention, John.
No, I just have my 6. I found one extra honorable mention, which was the hit clips. So I wanted to try to keep it light and tight.
So I got 2 more real quick.
Go for
it. Grave robbing for morons. Have you ever heard of that? 90s.
I know about that one. Yeah,
VHS tape. It's like it's not even that long. So essentially, it's this guy explains how to grave rob to sell bodies on the black market, cadavers on the black market. So like, there's a huge controversy over it. Like, was it real? Was it fake? And like recently, this is like a recent discovery that they found the kid that's in it, and supposedly he died. And his like sister has like the whole story and everything. So I won't spoil it for like people out there who want to go and do some investigative research. It was in like tape circles. It's like, yeah. Sorry, I was just reading chat. It's grave robbing for morons. It was like one of those urban legend tapes, you know.
It's funny. I've seen it. I saw it when I was researching a project that I actually abandoned years ago. I was doing this, like I was gonna make this fake documentary, but a very serious documentary, or mockumentary, I should say. And it's funny that, and the oh my god, what is it? The guy who did Last Exorcism did a bunch of weird short films, and a lot of the people that were like doing tape trading was half grave robbing for morons, and then half the I think it was Huck Botko. His short films were on there as well. But that tape is really creepy because the kid is like he has kind of like a stutter, and he just like it's like really like it feels so authentic, probably because it is.
Yeah, because he's like from New York City, but like it kind of reminds me of August Underground movies a little bit, totally. Or like a little bit of the Poughkeepsie tapes, but obviously that gets like August Underground gets a little ridiculous towards the end, but that's a whole nother show. And then my last honorable mention is Local 58.
Not heard of it.
So it is a YouTube channel that they would put out. It's essentially like Local 58's like a fake TV news channel in like some weird reality where like things are like kind of like not all that it seems, and there's like kind of eldritch creatures and stuff living, but it's all like filmed like normal cameras. And one of them is a fake, like, you know, when the like a channel goes off the air and they play the national anthem and everything. So instead of playing that, they accidentally play like we got overrun by the Russians, like you need to kill yourself and kill your family for the good of the nation and stuff. And it's creepy as hell.
Wow.
Like, I know. So like that one alone is just, it's bizarre because it's like, man, this could like be a real thing that's like somewhere.
What year did that come out?
That one specifically, I do not know off the top of my head. Local 58's newer because it's a YouTube channel.
But it's like it's faking that era. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it's faking it. And then like it's just crazy. Then like, and then like one of them's like an old like cartoon that they made that like looks like those old like black and white Mickey Mouse Halloween cartoons.
Hell yeah.
And then it's like it all connects to this like world. It's like we got a buddy who made like Weird Heroes of Public Access. Fairhaven is like his Channel 13 Fairhaven's like his thing. And it reminds me of that a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And those were my honorable mentions.
Nice.
So, Chris, why don't you hit us off with your number 6?
All right, number 6. Okay, so I should have ordered these. I didn't. What I will say is, actually, you know what? No, I will order them. I'll start with something that people are going to be familiar with. However, I don't know if they know how easily available it is to find this. Okay. So I'm sure we've all seen the 1-900 hotline ads for Freddy Krueger, like Freddy Krueger's hotline.
Yeah.
I, for years and years, was like, man, because I collect spoken word records, right? Like, especially spoken word Halloween records, Halloween novelty albums, things like that. And I was like, man, I would fucking kill to have all those stories. I wonder even who wrote those. Well, apparently years ago, I mean, it's probably like 10 years ago now, but I have the MP3 saved somewhere on like a hard drive. Some kid had called every day in October and recorded them, and basically shit. Like and like he put all of them, strung them out on a MP3 and had it on like some sort of listicle or something.
I think it's on
like
YouTube.
Yeah, it's they're, I mean, like, they're 2-minute versions, essentially, like 2-minute horror stories essentially. And if you've ever seen an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, you sort of get what you're getting. But it's they're really cute and like really fun. So yeah.
It
And I just
reminds.
think that's weird. Like, what a weird era.
It
you
is.
know?
It is. Oh, we'll get to it. Don't worry. It's on my list. But it reminds me of a guy has he worked at Kmart back when they headquarters would send you a tape that has all the commercials and all the music, and he kept them all, and then like obviously Kmart's not a thing, so like he had like years of these tapes for days, and then someone took them and put them on YouTube, so they like ripped them right to YouTube. So you
Hell
can
yeah.
listen to them. I listen to them all the time. It's freaking weird. That's like because it's like a guy talking like has no intentions of in 2024 on a computer. I'm listening to like
Yeah.
something. It's so weird to think about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to like totally like.
No, you're good. You're totally good. I mean, that's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure I definitely know the Freddy ones are there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that's because I wanted to write a book on 1-900 numbers, like get all
You
those ads.
should.
Yeah, but there's not much to it because like there's like they made them, they found a loophole, the government said no more with this loophole, and then 9-100 numbers stopped.
What was the loophole though? I didn't like. Why did the government want to stop
Well,
it?
essentially, not I wouldn't say loophole, but like luring little kids into spending like exorbitant amounts of money.
Yeah.
Like
Because they weren't just for
exploiting.
like sexy time phone calls.
No, there's
Yeah.
like the Hogan
Back in the day.
had a line. Like I mean, we'll get into it. It's on my
Yeah.
list. Don't worry.
Okay,
I got the ultimate 100 number.
Hell yeah, we're tabling this. Put a pin in it.
All right, so
That's what we
so
say. That's what we say. Put a pin in it. If it matches up, you say put a pin in it. We stop the conversation, and then when it comes up again,
because you could put a pin in that for me too, because that's on my list as well.
we might have the same one.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your number 6, Mr. Hambone?
VHS board games.
Oh, good call.
Like back in the day, man, it was one of those things where it was like all the rage for like a hot second. And like,
Yeah.
I actually went on boardgamegeek.com today to kind of look for like a list of them. And like they had a variety of them. Cause like I remember the first one that I saw was Clue and Nightmare.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think those are the most well-known
Atmosphere.
ones. Yeah. So Atmosphere is Nightmare. It's just rebranded as Atmosphere for I think the UK market.
Oh, is that why? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I thought it was a sequel. I only played
I always
Nightmare.
thought
I had Nightmare as a kid.
I always thought it was separated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
like,
Nightmare had 4 different games. So there's Nightmare 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4, just 4. But like there was a Wayne's World one. There's sports ones, which I couldn't figure out. D&D Dragon Strike.
Dragon Strike I own. That is sick.
Clue. Just a Sherlock Holmes one. Like there was a lot. I'm just grazing at Star Trek, Star Wars.
Does
like,
it get into Action Zone?
Not on my list. Not on my. I was like looking through a few different lists for it, but this one list that I have was like, all right, these are the ones that like everybody had.
Like I said, Action Force. It's like I guess it wouldn't be. It's not a board game. It's like a light gun. Like you put a VHS tape in, and then you shoot a gun.
Put a pin in that. That's my number 5.
Would it happen to be Ghost Pop or Pop Ghostly or whatever?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I never played that, but it's funny. The video games ones, the video board games. I had Clue. I've been giving the Clue board game, video board game as a gift twice. Oh my god, I'm holding balloons now. What the fuck?
It's with the hand gestures.
It's because I said Clue video board game. No, it's very niche. No, what I was gonna say was the one that I just bought recently that I haven't played yet was it's called Creature Feature. Shows old like public domain like horror movie clips.
Oh, cool.
In there.
Oh, yeah.
But the one that I'm really glad you brought that up because I haven't thought about this in a long time. It was either at a convention when I was like really young, like probably 10 or 11, or maybe a back of Fangoria, but there was someone that made essentially a slasher movie version of that, but it wasn't like it was mass produced in the sense that probably like a couple hundred copies were made or 1,000, but like it wasn't like in stores, but it was like a DIY slasher movie video board game. And I wish I could remember the name of it because but it always stuck with me because I was like, man, I wish I would have bought that, when I was a kid. But
there was also the one that they made for Sega CD that had Corey.
I know what you're talking about, yeah, but it's like way lower budget compared to that.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean you got Night Trap too. I mean that full motion video. Full motion video. That's a whole completely different topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Action Force, real quick before we go on, they did so yeah, we talk about Pop's Ghostly, which is like a weird like haunted
Yeah.
house Casper one, which is already kind of like uncannily freaky, but like mannequins. So like they do like a cops and robber one, and all the bad guys are just mannequins. And they're like, you're never gonna get me, copper, and it's like a fake mustache on a mannequin with like a hat and like a flannel shirt, like holding a gun, and it's just like that crap freaks me out.
Yeah.
I have
Pure nightmare fuel.
Pure nightmare fuel. I was always convinced as a kid that after the mall closed, I mean, because of mannequin, and then there's that kid show that the mannequin comes to life in the toy store. I remember the name of it. Someone's gonna tell me.
I know you're talking about. Yeah.
And then like I was always convinced, and then it goes into synthwave too, because you always remember the echoey mall music and the dread of knowing that it's almost 9 o'clock and then the mannequins were gonna come to life. Today's special. Thank you, chat. So mannequins are a no-go for me, and that game you shoot at mannequins, but it's weird because it's always like weirdly lit, right? It's always that strange studio lighting on it, and then like a mannequin, and then they're treating it's real. And then there's not to go on a crazy mannequin tangent, but there's also, my wife wanted me to bring this up, so this is her honorable mention. Is this Japanese show that I make her watch called The Fukans. It's essentially an American family goes and lives in Japan, but it's all mannequins. Like there's no actual actors. Like they'll zoom into a face and they'll just like talk, but it's just like a mannequin smiling, and then they'll move it, and it's like all in like full actual shot in like a town of just mannequins. But
man, that makes me think of have you ever seen sorry, I don't want to cut you off.
No, you're fine, go ahead.
Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story. It's Todd Haynes made a movie about Karen Carpenter and eating disorder, but it's all Barbie dolls. So like weird. They talk, but it's just like them, like with it's like it's so
exactly
weird. Yeah.
So like so the Japanese name is the Fukans, and then in America it's Oh Mikey, OHMIKEY exclamation point.
Huh.
And then are you pulling it up right now?
No, I don't want to see this.
Oh,
I don't want to see this because
and like so
I
like
need to go to sleep after this.
It's always crazy. I know we're like crazy into it right now. I'm sorry for time, but we're all like it's crazy to watch it in, like when they're speaking American English, but then when we watch it like with the subtitles and they go like a mile a minute with Japanese, I think it makes it even more freaky. But check it out, and then so then oh man, I'm like completely lost now. So Chris started Hambone. Oh, it's mine.
Yeah.
So this movie's not good. I don't recommend anybody watching it. It's about the production that makes it crazy for me. It's Final Flesh. Has anybody ever heard of this one?
No.
So it's the guy that made Wonder Chosen on MTV2, the Puppet Kids show.
Yeah.
So it's gonna get a little spicy in how I explain this. So he wrote the most ridiculous script that he possibly could. Essentially, there's no plot or anything, but it's about a family who's living in a house that's marked for a nuclear bomb to hit, right? So like that's pretty much the premise. So he takes this script, he chops it up into 4 pieces and sends them to adult fetish studios to make using adult fetish actors and actresses, but not anything that they normally would do, and just do the acting. So
what?
Yes, it is.
What is it called again?
Final Flesh. There's the cover.
Oh my god.
So Hambone, this is the one. Not only is it crazy, it comes with this little strange package of antibacterial hand gel. So not only does it come with hand gel,
it's for your eyeballs.
Yeah. So they call it's its own. This is like totally NSFW at this point, but it's only it's called pornsploitation is like the genre they call it. Oh my god. So like I don't recommend watching it. There's like some pretty ridiculous things, and obviously the studios have filmed them, so there is nudity, but it's an art movie, right? We're all
it's art. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, but I was gonna say it's funny, that reminds me of like how you described that. Is you guys familiar with wave movies? Like the like there was they were in Jersey. They were like basically they would make custom fetish tapes. So like if somebody was like, I got a script and I want to like I've got like oh my god, what was it, like female mercenaries on Zombie Island, but like this company who this guy was just like a school teacher, who I think eventually lost his job, I believe, because of this, but like I could be wrong. It's all in that mail order murder documentary. But like, dude, people would like send in scripts for like movies that they wrote, but they were just like custom fetish tapes. Like literally some of them are like 60 minutes of like a woman like combing her hair, like
right.
weird. Yeah.
That should have made it to the list.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Well, it's funny. I wrote my list so fast. I'm like, I probably got weirder.
No, you're good. But yeah, so like, so if you like Wonder Chosen, and you understand like, that show, you could probably like get into the world of Final Flesh. But
yeah,
I mean,
I am really intrigued based on.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely check it out. It's interesting, but buyer beware, because there are some like like I said, it's not full what you would expect, but there's some things.
It's not for your family dinner.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
for
well,
sure.
Don't come texting me after being like, man, Bill.
I was gonna say, what's the age range of people on the stream right now?
Oh no, they're fine. I'm saying they don't watch. I'm saying you personally.
Me personally,
Yeah,
I am a delicate flower. Thank you.
No. I mean, so I think I'm surprised you didn't. I thought you would have heard about it.
No, that sounds cool as shit. I
It's
mean,
like
I love Wonder
2015.
Chosen.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, Wonder Chosen's crazy though, because if you watch it now, you're like, oh boy,
Oh
this is.
yeah. No,
I was
you
like,
can't.
there's some stuff now where I'm like, ugh.
No.
Yeah.
It's a product of its time.
Exactly.
Wonder Chosen for sure. Like you cannot.
Let me tell you something about comedy, buddy.
Yeah.
It ages like milk.
Yeah. You mean Andrew Dice Clay is not relevant anymore?
Oh my god. Hickory dickory dock.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, actually, I'm gonna start using age like a fine milk. It's really good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, what is this, my
number 5?
Is it my turn, or okay?
Yeah.
All right. This is to really just change the conversation. Depressing. So there is a phone call, a 911 call that is used in police training. That is one of the most disturbing things that I've heard. Basically, it's this, and it was one of the inspirations for one of the segments in our
old lady one.
Yeah, the found footage. Are you joking me?
What? No, it's not on my list.
Okay.
I know about it, but like I just I didn't want to remember it. Thanks.
But it's like I'll tell the story a bit more. But like it was one of the inspirations for we made our found footage anthology. What Happens Next Will Scare You. Like it was one of the inspirations for one of the segments about like a like almost like a home invasion in a funeral home. But so this woman, it's basically audio recording of this woman's 911 call where she's saying someone is like walking around. This is like really scary in my opinion. Like I'm looking out my back window, I'm like, ooh, there's someone walking the perimeter of her house. She's like, I think this person's out there or whatever. And I'm probably misremembering this, but long story short, it ends with like her shrieking because this person's inside her house now. And it's seriously one of the scariest things I've ever heard to this day. Yeah, I had like the day I found that, I had like a really depressing afternoon. It was like a rainy day. I like listened to the Jonestown's tapes and then listen to that. Yeah, it was. I
watched all the Heaven's Gate VHSs a couple months ago while I was working. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. But
no,
like,
you're good, man.
You're in good company. Like I do all that stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So
that's what I recommend. Next time you do that, go have an ice cream cone afterwards. Jesus.
Yeah. So I know mine is like the lowest of lows on my list too. But I'm not gonna get in my list. So yeah, so that I do know more about it too. So I'm pretty sure it was like an axe wielding maniac, right?
Oh my god.
So I'm pretty sure like she was whacked with an axe at like to get, and then but yeah, so they used that tape because of the slow response of how the lady like handled the situation as the caller. It's used. That's like super used for training purposes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I could be completely wrong and just talking out my. I mean,
it sounds like a great
but I feel like for some reason that like there was like he had like an axe.
Yeah, but let me tell you something, buddy. Anybody who is going to listen to this and then go listen to that to try to disprove you, not to have a real fucking bad day.
And then yes, thank you for reminding me. So I thought that was the worst. There's one that beats you. So there's a website. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's all the black box recordings from plane crashes.
Oh my god.
There's that's brutal. And then one of them was like the worst thing. Like it was like they could not get like they're like get it up, like they're all freaking out. Like we're gonna crash. And then like you just hear like the worst metal crash sound. I know we're totally like, but yeah, like that that whole website's a bummer. Like,
Yeah, Jesus
yeah.
Christ, dude.
Yeah, dude. Watch
I'm like,
just like
No, it's not a
Pornhub like a
rock.com
normal
account.
dude.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You guys got any Care Bears on your list? Because I need like a little palate cleanser.
I know. I feel bad because mine. I'm not gonna dwell on mine. It was just a huge hype thing, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dwell on it. All
All
right,
right, John. I think this is you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of crashes, Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future, 1987, a toy line that interacted with an actual TV show that would air on network TV
Yep.
throughout the course of the week. It was crazy because for those who may not know, Captain Power was these dudes who had these like special exosuits where they had to go and save the human race from being enslaved and turned into like digital files. Now, this is 1987.
Yeah, it's
J.
awesome.
Michael Straczynski, Mr. Babylon 5 is writing this stuff, and they're like writing it for adults while still trying to like sell a toy line. So
Yeah.
there is like some definite like serious drama and action happening in this kid show. But what it was they had the figures, but they had these like flying ships that had essentially like a gun
Yeah, it's like
grip
the
on it.
action force. Like it
Yeah.
it triggers the pulse. I have a whole Captain Power story too that I can.
Yeah,
I
they're-
could-
Yeah, I got to hear this. It's coded bursts of light, though. There was a segment in every episode where you'd have to get like get your plane out, and like there'd be these coded bursts of light where you would either like shoot down the bad guy, or like your hand would shake, and then your Captain Power would get ejected from your thing or whatever the fuck it was. But it is a very shockingly dark show for the time. Ends on a cliffhanger because it gets canceled because Mattel's like, we're not going to give you any more money because it costs like $1 million to make an episode. Like back in like 1987, they had a whole second. I fell down a real bad rabbit hole with this. They had a whole second season plan. First one ends on a cliffhanger with the ultimate like personal sacrifice that a hero could make. Like, run, I'll hold them back. Base explodes. There's kids in there they're like, after
Optimus
school
Prime
going,
all over.
oh my god, yeah, there's Optimus Prime all over again. Yeah, it's some shit. So it got canceled. They're trying to bring it back in right before the pandemic, but
So
pandemic.
I used to get to watch it every single morning before school because I would walk to school. We lived maybe like 6 blocks from the elementary school, and I'd pick up my best friend Chris Benjamin on the way. Right, so I'd knock on his door. His mom or his sister or his dad would open the door, and I would just stand outside and like look through the screen into their house, and he would always like be watching Captain Power. And then like his mom was like, "Hey, you gotta get your stuff. You're gonna be late for school." So I would watch Captain Power while he was running around, and sure enough, those segments are at the end credits, and it's like a Death Star scene, and then you gotta like you see like there's like the flashing blocks like fly by you, and you have to shoot them and everything.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And then that was the first time I saw More Human Than Human. The music video was through Chris Benjamin's screen door.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, because I don't know. I guess I don't know why I never went inside, or I was never allowed to go inside. I just had to stand and wait for him outside with the door open. Oh man, so it's my number 5 then, huh?
Yep.
All right, so another like super. So Faces of Death, I've talked about 1,000 times on here, and I'm not going to get into Mondo films or anything, but there was another art film, right, that swept the underground horror nation, and it came out in '89, and it's Begotten. Has anybody ever?
I've seen
No, I've not
Begotten.
seen it.
Yeah. It's notoriously bad. Don't waste your time. There's no plot. It's like this weird creature gives birth to another. Like it's like a pile of bandages, kind of. It's like a arts film, but it was always like, oh man, it's so scary, it's so gory, and it's like it's not really like anymore, especially now with like it on DVD. Like you can actually like see it and stuff, but like it's a product of its time to where like the VHS quality gave to like the allure of what you're seeing, right?
So it's funny, like I definitely had that like this dude I knew, this guy Rob, that we played in a couple bands together. Like he was like, "Yeah, it's the most fucked up thing you'll ever see." And I was thinking to myself, like, it's not. Like
I
it's like
know.
crazy that you thought that. Well, what's even crazier about that, you know, the guy who directed that movie, or the person, I don't know if it's a dude, directed Shadow the Vampire.
Yes, I did know
So it's
that.
crazy to think that they went
What?
from that to like it's just bonkers. Like yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, it's funny, the thing I mentioned earlier about Huck Botko. I mean, going from those shorts that were with grave robbing for morons, to like directing like Last Exorcism. Like it's just crazy. These guys that made these lo-fi movies getting these huge like studio opportunities.
Yeah.
Man, I love seeing that kind of stuff.
It's cool. It's really cool.
I think that's the coolest thing when you get out there, you're hustling, you're grinding, you're doing your passion projects, you're getting weird, and now someone's gonna be like, "Oh, here's $100 million."
Yeah, for sure.
Your mom's gonna be able to go to AMC and theater. You know, AMC theater to see this.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that goes right into our number 4s, Chris.
Number 4. All right. Number 4 on my list is actually, I feel like this kind of ties into this thing like Begotten. So this is media, but not in the sense of like it's not a novel, it's not a game, it's not a movie. So when I was a kid, and this ties into some stuff with the WF sequel. When I was a kid, finding like movies that I couldn't get at like a Blockbuster or even the mom and pop video store, like finding like things that were only available in like Japanese Laserdisc or like the original ending to Army of Darkness, I got through mail order catalogs. And the catalog that always stuck out to me and was the inspiration for the fake movie catalog that we did for the WF sequel was a thing called Catalog of Carnage. And Catalog Carnage, I believe they were like Arizona or somewhere out west. Basically, like half the catalog was oh my god, like piercings you could get, like, you know, like earrings or like facial piercing, things like that, or like serial killer t-shirts or like serial killer like dolls, things like that. And then the other half of it was all bootleg tapes and like things for like, you know, like some concert videos, some like uncut horror movies from certain, you know, like the German edit, Japanese edit, like things like that. But that was instrumental in when we made Out There Halloween mega tape. Like one of the things we made was I made a 350 plus fake movie catalog, as if it was like a version of Catalog of Carnage or something like
Awesome.
Video Search of Miami or something like that. So it's called Trader Tony's Tape Dungeon, and Catalog of Carnage was like the main inspiration for that.
God, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. I mean, that shit was crazy. I just remember my mom, like, she was always so weird about like the horror movies. Like she was like, I don't care about violence. I don't care if people get decapitated. I don't care about that stuff. But any weird sex stuff, like I don't want. So when I got the Catalog Carnage in the mail, there's like things that are obviously like dick piercing, like jewelry and things like that. She's like, all right, just don't look at those 2 pages, and then just hands me this like thick Xeroxed like 8.5 by 11, like probably like 40-page catalog. And I was like, immediately I went to look at the things she told me not to look at. But all the movie descriptions were like literally 2 or 3 sentences about just like, I mean, I'm trying to think. I probably have it somewhere still. But just it was just crazy. Like all like it made me realize like, holy shit, like the horror section at my local mom and pop store isn't even scratching the surface of like what exists out there. And it was such a like, it was like Pandora's box.
Very cool.
I love that you're safe just as long as you don't look at Prince Albert.
Basically. Yeah. But my mom didn't even like rip the pages out. She's like, oh, whatever, just don't look there. Like she did not care.
What was the go-to? Like what'd you order out there that you had to have the most?
The first tape I ordered from there was I probably still have this somewhere. It was Sam Raimi's early short films, which were really, I mean, the tape, I mean, all of them look like shit. Like that's the thing. Like unless there were like a couple that were like, unless like even in the description they would say things like, oh, like direct from the pre-record, so it was like a first generation dupe. But the Sam Raimi short films had like oh my god, had like his version of like an Indiana Jones parody called The Adventures of Cleveland Smith, which is very problematic now. It had a bunch of, it had like a short about a killer lawnmower, about a Hannibal hamburger helper hand that comes alive, which was clearly inspiration for Evil Dead 2, like all those things. And they're probably all on YouTube now. But it was probably. Like it was so that was the first one I got. Trying to think what else. I mean, like that's the one that immediately comes to mind. But like, I mean, because that's the thing that's crazy too that folks don't realize. Like in the age of like Amazon or like what we're expected to like fulfill orders, all of us that have our own businesses, like you would send that in and you wouldn't get it for like, you'd forget you ordered something, and like 5 weeks later you'd be like, oh shit, like that's that tape finally.
Yeah.
So crazy. What a different world.
Yeah, it's like it's so crazy too because that world doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know? It's
no,
crazy.
I know.
It's like there's nothing compares. There's nothing in comparison. It's crazy. I think about it all the time. That's my
for
part.
sure.
Rome Part 2, The Gladiator's Revenge.
I love it.
All right, Hambone, number 4.
So are we ready to unpin 900 numbers?
Depends
I'm
on the
ready.
one.
Yeah.
Well, no, you know what? I got a list. It was funny because I was like, I was starting to remember and then misremember a bunch of 900 numbers from when I was a kid. So I just, went on the Google, and BuzzFeed put up a thing of the 30 weirdest 1-900 numbers from the 80s. Now,
I'm going to know every single one.
for those people who may not be familiar with the 1-900 numbers, there was like the adult ones where you have phone sex with somebody, which I found out back in the early 2000s was like a shockingly like lucrative job where like you're getting paid upwards near $18 an hour to answer a phone when it rings at your house that they put in for you that you don't have to pay for, and just like
talk
dirty to me.
Wow.
Talk dirty to me,
Yeah,
and it's
Rocco's
crazy.
Modern Life. That was his job.
That was his job.
Yeah, it was
like
a sex phone operator.
Nickelodeon was fucked up back in the day.
It was.
Oh, I mean, that's a whole other.
Yeah.
That's a whole other can of worms.
That's a whole nother miniseries.
Yeah.
They had them for psychics too. Psychics was a big thing too. Psychic hotline numbers, but they also did like a thing where they were like, well, they realized that like you can make money just by having people call in and having pre-recorded like stories, like you were talking about the Freddy one, being told to you. And so the number one weirdest one is the Corey Haim and Corey Feldman fan hotline.
Yep.
Where like they just like laughed and like did
Told
whatever. The He-Man, the Paula Abdul hotline. Oh my god. Hulk Hogan fan line.
Yep.
Jessica Hahn's secret revealing hotline, which was a gossip line. Warrant's fan hotline. And I will say this about the people at BuzzFeed, sometimes when they decide to get off the bench with something, they're brutal, because the caption actually says, for Warrant fans, yes, at one point there were so many Warrant fans they had a pay phone line. Now the singer is dead. Like, wow. Lottery, WWF, where like you would call in and get the dirt sheets and find out about matches that were coming up. Grandpa Al Lewis's fan hotline, new kids, jokes. You could get insulted, get playlists from Spin Magazine. There was like one for like back in the day, there was a show, Captain Planet. And basically, from what I was told from a friend, it was essentially like you pay like $2 for the first minute, $1.95 for the second minute, and it would just be like these characters berating you and making you feel bad for not recycling enough.
Awesome.
Like, that's certainly something. Kiss had their own hotline because, of course, they did. Freddie, but like these things are like just such a relic of that time because,
Yeah.
It was a day where like, suddenly it's like 1991, 92, and it's like, okay, we can't do this anymore, guys.
Yeah. And they're
Party's
illegal.
over.
Like you literally, you cannot call. There's no 1-800 number exists anymore.
None of them.
I tried to make one, like recently for the game. I was gonna do a 1-900 number and put like tips and stuff on it.
That's so wild.
But yeah, so they're all 1-800 numbers now.
Yeah, like
yeah, they do not exist. They are illegal.
Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah, you didn't talk about my pick.
Which
so
one?
That's good. We'll wait when I get to it.
Okay.
So, all right, cool. So mine's still a downer, but it's not a begotten downer. It is the Mark Twain Adventures Satan scene.
What?
Have you seen this?
I don't think so.
So
like Mark, what do you mean?
So
what's Mark Twain Adventures, like the
Mark
book?
Twain Adventures is a claymation movie from the 80s where Mark Twain takes some modern youths through history and literature, right?
Who plays Mark Twain? It's not Hal Holbrook, is it?
I don't know. Actually, Mark Twain's buried in my hometown of Elmira, New York.
Nice.
Yeah, I have a nice Mark Twain connection. Are you pulling it up there, Hambone? Or do you need me to?
No, I'm making a comment in the chat and also trying to pull it up as well, but I got
pull it
like
up real
19
quick.
different windows open right now.
Yeah, so let's see. It was all claymation. So let's see who plays Mark Twain. Adventures Mark Twain, 85. Mark Twain is played by James Whitmore. Okay, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I'm completely off track right now with all the 1-800 number buzz. Yeah, so it's a kids claymation movie where they like Mark Twain takes them on the trips, and then they go like this like it's like an elevator, right? They open it up or a time machine or whatever, and they go to this like desolate like moon, and there's this weird alien looking thing, and the kids are like, "Well, what are you?" And they're like, "I'm an angel," right? But the voice does a man and a woman at the same time,
Oh no.
like that weird ethereal, like
Yeah.
strangeness to the voice.
That's
And they're like,
weird.
"What's your name?" He's like, "Satan," right? And they're like,
What?
Yeah, it's crazy." And they're like, "That's a weird name for an angel," and all this stuff. Yeah. So they go on the planet, and then like, Cayuga Man, it's got me all flustered now. And then it gives them parables about like, like should like they make little people and show like population, like should we crush them, and all this stuff. And
I need to watch this.
yeah.
This
The
sounds
clip's on
insane.
YouTube. You can watch the clip. All you do is just Google Mark Twain like Satan scene, and it pops up. It's definitely worth the watch. Like it's bizarre and crazy, and it like does not match with the movie, and it's like that quintessential typical 80s like Artax in the swamps of sadness, never ending story, like scenes that like why did they put that in a kids movie?
This,
Well,
yeah,
'cause it
this
was the
is
80s.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It's like, we're going to try to turn you off from something. So we're going to show you the absolutely fucking coolest thing that we could ever possibly show you to prove to you that this is bad and you shouldn't watch it.
I'm watching it now. It looks insane. This
Yeah.
fucking fuckers. My God.
Sweet. I'm
Holy
glad.
shit.
I'm glad I get to
Yeah.
show you some stuff. Not teach you stuff.
No, you're good. It is teaching me how to ruin someone's life.
Oh man, I know we went hard. Oh, and it's another thing. Like another really creepy thing is two things. There's like a signal wave. You ever listen to signal wave? It's kind of or like weather wave. It's kind of just like the Weather Channel music and stuff. One of them is kind of like lo-fi, like synth wave and vaporwave and stuff. But it splices in like newscasters like in the morning and stuff. And you kind of look at the imagery and you realize it's all the stuff that happened on 9/11 before the first plane hit the tower. So it's got this like gut-wrenching feeling through the whole, like anxiety through the whole thing. Like it was like sweating listening to it.
Dude, I will tell you a quick story.
Yeah, absolutely.
On 9/11, I was doing, I guess I was either sophomore or junior in high school, I can't remember, but like it was like one of the groups that asked to do like a back to school video, like a fun little back to school. So I'm like in the video department and I'm like walking around with some kids, like walking around, and we're like talking to so and so teacher, hey Miss so and so, blah blah blah, walking down the hallway, and we find the teacher's lounge. And like we like and I don't know where this tape is. I wish I fucking had it, but it would be a great start or like for a found footage movie. We turn the corner and in the teacher's lounge, all the teachers, like 3 or 4 teachers, are like watching like what like the 9/11, like the first tower has been hit. Oh. And like we say some comment like, oh, here's all the teachers just like not doing any work, hanging out in the teacher's lounge, and they turn around and look like horrified because they see this attack. And literally like seconds later is when the second tower hits.
Damn.
Like it was just one of the most insane things. God, I don't think people will ever understand what that was.
No,
like, that didn't
we end up talking about 9/11 a bit on this because I mean it's like the defining moment in all our our lives.
Well, we got 2, man, because like look, we are old enough to have both seen the Challenger explode while in school and the towers fall in 9/11. Like, who do we piss off? Like, why do we have to see both of those?
It's funny to bring up the Challenger. When I was writing WNUF, the original one, my godmother, who like partially raised me, like I spent a ton of time with her growing up, she would like tape all these things. And when I was researching, like just like getting in the mindset of the 80s, was I borrowed all these tapes from her, and she just had an EP tape of 4 hours of the Challenger exploding news coverage. So very similar to your 9/11.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, she was something else.
There was like a lady, I want to say she was in New York, recorded the TV like every single day for like her whole life, and she died, and they found all the tapes, and it's like they're finding stuff that's like lost media in her collection.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful thing, and it's like, and like people, like in video vagrants and stuff, people post like blank tapes that they find at the thrift store and hope that it's not someone's homemade extracurriculars, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I get what you're laying down.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But
yeah,
this is crazy, man. Downer City.
Yeah, all the rest of mine are pretty uplifting. So
yeah, mine too.
Yeah, all right, that's fair. So
was it 3? Yeah, because you just did your 4, right?
Yeah. So
yeah. So
okay.
3.
All right. So my 3 is this is one of the partial inspirations for WF. Something I try to show people all the time. So in the early days of YouTube, I would just go on there and be like, oh, just like type in like Halloween special or whatever. And one of the first things I ever found was a guy named Mike Randall, who was a newscaster in Buffalo, New York. And this is it's in 4 parts, because I think back then YouTube limited the length of video.
God, remember that? Yeah.
But yeah, isn't that crazy? But now you can listen to like 9 hours of wolves howling and fall asleep to it. But Mike Randall's very scary Halloween special. But he's just like this guy. He was like a really funny, goofy newscaster from Buffalo, and his Halloween special is like really great. Like it's basically just repurposed news packages he probably did during October with some host segments.
Awesome.
But if you look at his YouTube channel, he's got all these funny things. Like his stories, or like he did like a story for Christmas that was like him learning how to be Santa Claus for a mall Santa, like a boot camp. Like he was amazing. He was totally him, and a local Baltimore guy were the 2 inspirations for Frank Stewart in WF.
Awesome.
So yeah.
Love it.
Very cool. What you got?
So number 3, Billy Idol Cyberpunk, the album that came with a Mac only floppy disk, and it was like the first like multimedia thing of its time. It's 1993, right? Billy Idol is now going from like, White Wedding, Eyes Without a Face to like dipping his toe into like 9 Inch Nails territory and like, digital style music. And so, you get dressed up like a fucking Borg.
Yeah.
And for the music video, so the album came with a floppy disk, but it would only work with a Mac computer, and you had to have internet to get it to work. So like I feel it flopped. It was a commercial flop. The album wasn't great to begin with, but all the extra bullshit that they tacked on there, absolute commercial flop. Because like in 1993, asking for someone to have a Mac computer and the internet was asking a lot.
That's wild. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. But then again, I don't go out listening to Billy Idol much.
Well, yeah, you're missing out, buddy.
Apparently, I didn't know he had the Cyberpunk soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, it was actually the first time I ever heard the term cyberpunk.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. Because in 1993 I wasn't into RPGs at
well,
that point.
That's true too. Yeah, I guess it is.
It was a little harder to find, RPGs and people to play with, like outside of like Dungeons and Dragons and like, the old grogs who didn't want to like play with young kids.
How crazy that this is a role-playing game show.
It's odd, that's for sure.
I don't think there's a single one, and besides Pizza Party, is like this. But so that's your number 3?
That was my number 3. Yeah, because the first it's interesting because look now I went down the Google hole. The actual first Cyberpunk RPG, 1988.
Right.
Oh wow.
So it predated Billy Idol's Cyberpunk.
Well, yeah, so it's based on the novel though. Like someone's gonna tell me in chat. There's like,
someone in the chat had it.
There's like a Cyberpunk novel that that's all based on. I can't remember. I don't think it's called Cyberpunk, but
I know what you're talking about. It'll
Neuromancer.
Yeah, Neuromancer.
So yeah. So speaking of that, this is kind of cyberpunky. The Max Headroom signal hijacking.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I mean, they still don't know who did it, but they kind of know who did it because you had to have known the ins and outs of like, like cable or like not necessarily cable, but like the airwaves. I can't think of the name of it. TV producing, right? So, and you had to have access to a tower tall enough to reach where it reached. So, essentially, if you don't know what it is, during a couple football games in Chicago, someone hijacked the signal, dressed as Max Headroom for a couple seconds here or there, said like catch the wave, got spanked with a paddle, and then kind of just left for never to be seen again. So it's freaky in the sense that like it's not the best quality, right? So anytime something's like has that low quality VHS look is always like strange to me, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's
For
like
sure.
it's everything to me.
Yeah.
So nobody knows who it was, what like how they did it or like anything, but
There was a similar one. I think it was the Captain Midnight guy or was something like a similar takeover, but he got caught and got a huge fine. He basically broke into someone's signal and like put some message up again, like anti paid cable or something. But they tracked him down immediately. Yeah.
I think I know that one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Nowadays the feds will be parked right in your driveway, right when you come back.
Yeah.
Like
30 minutes or less, like a friggin' pizza.
Oh yeah. It's easy. Yeah.
All right, was my number 2, right?
Number 2,
okay.
Yep.
All right, so this is a weird one. Like I mentioned, like I collect a lot of like spoken word, like weird, like Halloween novelty stuff, things like that. So, one night Melissa and I were walking back from I think a bar. We were probably feeling good, and we were like walking home from where we were living at the time, and there was someone just like had a box of records, and we were like, oh, let's look through the records, like whatever. It's like they're just throwing them out, so like mostly garbage. But I've had this one cover that was like a green hand with all this mist around it holding a what's the one of those, like a quill, like with the feather.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it looked like a spooky ghostly hand, and the record was called Musical Seance. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So anyway, get home, we whatever records we took, we like next morning we wake up and we're like, what the hell is this? And the record, it was by this woman called Rosemary Brown. And Rosemary Brown was this British woman that basically was like purported to have communed with the spirits of like these classical composers, and she wrote these symphonies that was like, actually I pulled up the Wikipedia article to make sure I don't get this wrong, but like Beethoven, like Schumann, like Chopin, like Stravinsky, like Franz Liszt, like all these Brahms, Bach, all these people basically she channeled their spirits, and she sat down and wrote lost symphonies of theirs.
Oh man.
I mean, obviously, I don't know if I buy this, but like she put out I think at least that one record, if not another, and then a couple books. Like the one that I have a copy of after I got super fascinated by this was called Unfinished Symphonies, Voices from Beyond, where she, talks about her whole experience. But if you listen to them, they all sound so similar, and obviously those composers are not, they're drawing from different influences, they're different parts of the world. So it's sort of like, yeah, I don't know, lady. But yeah, that's my number 2. Yeah,
that's awesome. That's such a Joey Royale. I gotta get him onto that.
Oh yeah.
So
he'd be like, hey, pause on.
Man, it's crazy. Like we've technically never really, all 3 of these haven't. I thought we were gonna hit a lot of the same ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
Very cool. Like everyone's got like completely like different but same stuff.
Yeah.
All right, number 2.
Oh, for me, I'm also going to follow up with a vinyl, a very, very famous vinyl. McDonald's 1988 $1 Million Menu Song record.
Oh man.
You guys remember this?
Oh yeah, it's the Whopper recipe, right? And then if they actually did it right, you won.
Yeah, and it was a little square like vinyl, but it was so thin that they would actually stuff it in with like the penny flyers and the newspapers that we get delivered to your house in the Sunday paper. It was definitely like one of those things where flexi disc. Thank you. That's a very accurate way to describe it. It even when it was brand new out of the newspaper, it did sound like you were playing it backwards, trying to channel like Satan.
Yeah, I have one. I have an elf one
really?
right here. Well, Mel Mac of
dude,
Rock.
that's great.
It's from
That
Burger
is
King. But yeah,
awesome.
it's that same thing. This is cardboard. Like
It's
Yeah.
funny. I just got one of those for like a Count Chocula record.
I make pins. I have pins of them. The
Yeah,
Count
nice.
Chocula records. Yeah, the whole Monster Crew have 2 albums out.
That's so crazy.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're on YouTube. You can watch.
Are
them.
they? Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah,
And,
because those records you can't play a lot because
No, yeah, you can't. So somebody's archived them.
Lucky if you get it once, all the way
Yeah.
through,
I know.
sounding clear.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
What was I gonna say about it? Records. I don't remember. Dang it! It's like I'm completely blank.
I mean, a lot of places did those. I was gonna say like the real thin, like I guess Flexies was there's also there's like there's a donut chain from like Louisiana that like did one that's like a Halloween kid story that I have too. Man, I forgot. I wish I remember the name. Like I want to say like Winchester's or something.
Huh.
Yeah.
Flexi disc. Man, I can't remember what I was gonna say. It stinks. But my number 2, possibly in Michigan.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like so. I mean, it's already like bizarre how they're singing and everything. If you're not familiar with it, it's on YouTube. It's an old '80s short film, worth the watch. It's like 2 sisters, like in perfumes, are getting stalked by a cannibalistic murderer wearing a mask, right? So like Arthur the cannibal, if you will. So they're kind of like there, and then always off camera, like to the side, kind of out of focus, like in the middle distance is like Arthur, like in every scene until they get to the cannibal stuff. But the mask is so freaky, and it's that symptom of like 80s VHS, right? So it has that degraded look to it that adds to the allure of how creepy it is. So possibly in Michigan. I highly suggest it. It's got some great songs in it too.
That's awesome.
Badass.
All right. My number 1, I try to tell the people about this all the time, and it was a staple of my Halloween mixes for a long time. Although you can't use it year after year. It's a short film. So it's funny. I feel like I'm going to talk about another like Evil Dead again. But I was going to say it's called Pumpkin Madness 2. And I saw it because back in the day, Sci-Fi Channel would have this weird thing where it was like, oh, we essentially like, oh, we show an 80-minute movie and we need something to fill the time between our next time slot, right? This is before they even had a lot of advertisers. They didn't have full commercial breaks a lot early on in the Sci-Fi Channel days. And
is it back when they spelled it SCIFI?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. This is like, I want to say like 1994, 1995, because they were showing, I taped, Rob Zombie was hosting Zombie Week, and Evil Dead was like the Thursday night movie. So at the end of the broadcast, it cuts to this Pumpkin Madness 2 short film, which apparently was produced by, because I lost my tape a long time ago, but again, when YouTube started like having everything, it was made by some TV guys out in Seattle, Washington. And it's literally like this weird short film with stop motion pumpkins and it's narrated by a guy doing like a classic, like, like a Bela Lugosi, like in the old country, I used to go see the pumpkins come alive. And I totally fucking butchered that, but still, the pumpkins like turn around and then they carve out eyes with a knife. That's sort of almost like the Invisible Man carving it up. But then they fly around. There's this goofy song called Mr. Jack-o'-lantern that plays. It's really great. And it was like, it's like one of those movies that like that shorts that just immediately gets me in like the Halloween spirit.
Awesome.
That's badass. My number 1 is probably, in my humble opinion, the greatest bit of band merchandise ever, right? 1991 Slayer Blood Pack.
Yes.
I didn't know they did that.
Oh yeah. So 1991 Season of the Abyss came out. It was it edited Season of the Abyss and then like a remix of Season of the Abyss. Picture disc CD, and it came in a bag. It slipped in the middle of the bag, but on both sides of the bag it was blood. And it looked real enough. But they say nowadays if you find one, all the blood's dried out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Whatever it was, but like, back in the day, like kids were like, no man, this is really their blood. It's like, dude, they would be dead. Also, at that point, the blood would be like 3/4 alcohol. You know, if we're talking about like Slayer in like 1991.
So it's essentially like, because like Kiss kind of did that. They added their blood to the ink for the Kiss comic book.
Right. Yeah. It's like
So,
a
like,
little drop of blood and all that ink. Sure.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe that's what they did too, so they could say like legally. But maybe, I don't know. This was like during the AIDS pandemic, right? I don't think that would have gone over well.
I don't think they would be sending real blood with these CDs.
Why not?
I do love the idea of that, or even like remember those like there was in horror comics a lot back in the day, like real soil from like Transylvania.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
I have a piece of the castle.
Yeah.
I know, they got like, we just went to the zoo up here the other day, and they in the gift shop they had dinosaur poop, like, you know, corporate, like little chunks of it. So of course I had to buy. It was like $6, so I was like, I'll just take some dino poop and put it on the shelf in the office. Like, you know, it's that. Yeah, it's like stuff like that. I'm a sucker for it, so I could see how someone would want a little coffin vial of dirt.
Yeah. Fucking A.
Oh man, my props. So my number one
props
is the best 1-900 number, Freddy Freaker. He plays.
Oh wow!
How did you? Was that like? Hold on, did someone make that, or is that from the?
Oh
old,
no, this
like...
is no. It's not an original Freddy Freaker.
Okay.
There's this company, like Robot Shark or something, that like they like put it out like Oni plays. No, Shark Robot. They did it twice. It was like you had to go online like on a certain time of the day, sign up for it, and then in a couple months it like came to the house.
That's crazy, dude. I mean, like, I know that commercial because of I got a copy of seeing that commercial for the first time was on I got a tape traded somebody that had like the Elvira MTV special from back in the day, and that's one of the commercials.
Yeah.
And I've used that commercial in some of my Halloween mixes.
It's
so funny.
It's the best. And then
you
can even get because I use it in a lot of my Kickstarter videos and stuff.
Yeah.
They have someone green screened it perfect to where it comes off phenomenal. So you can add the real, I mean, you know, legality.
I want to know, like, what do you think that hotline was? What was it? Just someone talking?
Had
to be.
I couldn't. Yeah. I don't even know, because there's another commercial that is for 1-900-490 Freak. That's not Freddy Freaker. That's like they're called like the Freaks or something, and they talk like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, here's what I want to go back to. When you're talking about the 1-900 numbers, where it's like you just like sit around. If your phone rings, you have to be all sexy. Imagine if that's your job. You have to sit around and be like, "Just a minute, honey.
Yeah.
Hey guys."
You just described my dream job.
Yeah.
I know. Like everyone always wants like to go back in time to see the dinosaurs. I just want to go back in time with a list of these numbers and record them all so we have them.
Dude, I think about that all the time because, like, I think about, like, man, I wish I had the money I make now when I was a kid. I would have, like, gone on, like, a crazy, like, spree of all the dumb shit that, like, my parents would have never bought me.
Yeah, that you want now, that's, like, crazy expensive because all of us
exactly.
Want it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we all just have those feelings of missing out.
Yeah, FOMO.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's our list. Wow, that was quite awesome.
That was great. That's super fun.
Yeah. We did, like, there was I mean, the only thing that realistically really like Venn diagrammed was the 1-900 numbers. I think we all had the 1-900 number. It's crazy to think of. It's so ingrained in the zeitgeist of our generation.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think it was interesting with the 1-900 numbers was like, I remember the ones I called was like, I remember Santa Claus had a hotline that I tried to call because I was a kid, right? Like I was like 4 years old and I was like, I want to talk like that'd be like a cool, like I remember getting in trouble for that because my folks were like, who are you calling on the phone? You're a 4-year-old. You should not be calling anyone.
It's crazy. I bought a pin maker, so I got like into making my own pins for like a month, you know, and then like I did a whole like 1-900 line. So I had like Freddy Freaker, the Boglins. Oh yeah. The ad we use in the beginning is the 1-900 Boglins. Yep. And you got a 3D Boglins card if you called. So I'm trying to find them on eBay. Like they never pop up. like the
Yeah.
the 1-900 Boglin card. If I had one of those, that's like my Ferrari, right? Like
that's your Maltese Falcon.
yeah, totally. I have a huge stack of like holographic somewhere, but anyway. But yeah,
Oh
like
my
that's
God.
that's the holy grail right there. The
Yeah.
the 1-900 Boglin's card. Like there's just it's the allure of it, right? So it ticks off all the marks for me. One, you couldn't do it as a kid. It was like
Yeah.
like there was things worse than killing someone, and it was messing with the phone bill, right? Like that was
It's
like
true though. That is true.
And
Yeah.
then
God.
so the allure of it being like illegal, not illegal, but obviously not for kids, and the phone bill, and then just like the weird commercials, the mystery behind them all, like they left it so open ended that you thought you were gonna get like War and Peace over the phone, but it's just like like the biggest letdown of the planet. Like there's just and then how crazy they got. It was like a wildfire, and then it was gone. Like in a flash of an eye. So that always interests me in 1-900 numbers.
Do you know what year that happened?
Yeah. So I did when I was doing research because I really wanted to like it was. You ever see the ad nauseum books? They're like I'll have to show you or like look it up or. I got a couple of them. They're the high res scans of all the movie showtimes for horror movies in the 80s. And then they're very nice quality. Yeah, so I wanted to do that with 1-900 numbers. All the ads.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like that was the idea because I was like, well, I mean, I wrote a role playing game. I guess I could write the history of 1-900 numbers. So I was starting to do the research in it. There's not really much to it, but yeah, there is an actual hard date.
I think it was 1992 from what's popping up on Google. 92 was for adult stuff, and then 93 was for everything else.
Yeah. So like that short of time, a 900 number was like faces of death in real life to us, right?
Yeah.
Oh
but
yeah.
But it's funny though too. Like the 1-900 numbers, they just changed them. Because I remember even going into like 95 to 97, like I would watch on USA Real Wild Cinema, like Sandra Bernhardt, and like they would have 1-900 style like sex hotlines because it was so late. It was like 11 o'clock or like 11:30, whatever. But I guess they were like variations, so maybe it was just 900. You couldn't have any more after that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So 92, 93 it went down, but you could still, if you like put it in writing and you needed it for something, you still could get a 900 number
for educational purposes.
For educational purposes, of course. But every like so often, like a carrier like Verizon or AT&T, they'd be like, "We're not doing 900 numbers anymore." So by 2012, they said there was no such thing anymore.
Yeah. So
Google.
Are you fans of the show? Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, absolutely.
The phone police episode.
Oh yeah.
Where like
that was a good one. Yeah.
The kids prank call and then like the spectral phone police come and arrest the kid. Like that's like another allure to the 1-900. Something about the phone, and then it was like because like phone lines sounded different, right? Like that static was like the static and the dial tone combined. Like is always kind of like an uncanny, like uneasy feeling to it too.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it's just like there's like inherently like creepy loneliness to
it.
Like
exactly.
Yeah. It's funny. I was actually just looking up like 1-900, just like looks at the thing, but the first 900 service known to be used in the U.S. was the Ask President Jimmy Carter program in March 1977.
Wow, 77.
Isn't that crazy? That's bonkers. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
So very cool. Well, we'll call it at that. That's the 90 minutes right there on time.
You didn't have to keep it like down.
No, I know.
Yeah.
So but yeah. So thanks for coming on, Chris. I really appreciate it. It was like one of the awesomest times. Like we had a blast. We'll definitely have to have you come back.
Yeah, I'll come back whenever, man. I was gonna say like we'll come with another fun topic. I mean, that was like really I love talking about the movies, but honestly, like having more conversations like this is way more interesting to me. So that was really fucking cool. Yeah, Brian, John, thanks so much, guys. It was fucking awesome.
No problem. So yeah, real quick, Chris, tell them what you got going on. Or then like where people can find you and get the
Yep.
tapes. Like,
so for the WF movies, so WF Halloween special and Out There Halloween mega tape, and I also mentioned that found footage anthology we did, What Happens Next Will Scare You. You can get all of those at our website directly from us, wnuf.bigcartel.com. So wnuf.bigcartel.com. So it's like literally like directly from us filmmakers. And then outside of that, I think it's Instagram, it's just chris.lamartina, and then I think Twitter is just Chris LaMartina. I was gonna say yeah, those are the two big ones I'm pretty active on. And then, yeah, just working on some new stuff. I wish I could tell you, working, my wife just wrote the Amanda the Adventurer sequel game. We're gonna co-direct and co-produce some more cutscenes for that game. So working on that in a couple months. If anyone is close to Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philly, we host, or my wife's horror host character hosts Blobfest every year, and our band, Beach Creepers, the house band. And if anyone's close to Baltimore, the Beach Creeper record release is on May 17th at Peabody Heights Brewing. And what else? Keep your eyes peeled in the next like year and a half, maybe Halloween 2025, for Trick or Treat with Reed Richmond, which is our next WNF spinoff.
awesome.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah,
Very good.
Blobfest.
yeah, dude,
I always
come.
wanted
It's
to
really
go to
fun.
Blobfest. I always
It's
wanted to
super
go.
fun.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
have to
sounds
one
so
of
good.
these years. Maybe
Yeah.
we can vent there, John.
Let's do it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. We'll booth up. So so John, tell the people what you got coming up or anything going on.
Well, you can find me across the internet at John McGuire RPG. I mostly post on Instagram. I'm kind of like leaving the house and doing stuff. Finally, going places.
Very
I hugged
cool.
Chewbacca the other day. It was rather nice. My latest adventure for 321 Action RPG, The Sunrise Limited, is now available on Exalted Funeral as of today. So if you're looking for a cool vampire Western train heist, imagine Castlevania on a murder train, head over down to Exalted Funeral and pick up a copy today.
Boom, baby.
How about you?
I don't really have anything going on. Just my normal, like with the minis and other books and stuff, finally getting to print, but nothing on the horizon other than till fall time. So that's all I got. So that's it for this. Month, week, whatever. Whenever we do a ravioli for Randy. Once again, Chris, thanks. I appreciate you coming
Very
on.
welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you guys.
Yep,
Appreciate it.
everybody watching. Have a good night. Later.
I am the Wizard of Odyssey, and I possess the key to great video game